We had a statement from the U.S. Military Central Command. They say that rockets and ballistic missiles hit that Al-Assad air base in northern Iraq. Now, this base has been targeted previously by a lot of different rocket attacks as the tensions over Israel's war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip has been going on. But one thing to keep in mind is this involved ballistic missiles. This is definitely a different style and weapon of attack. Typically, ballistic missiles are associated with nations rather than militant groups. So it's interesting that the U.S. Central Command specifically said Iranian-backed militants, perhaps giving a little bit of space between what happened at the base and Iran, but it is serious. They say that there were several soldiers who were hurt. Some are being screened right now for traumatic brain injuries, like we saw after the death a few years ago of that Iranian general Qasem Soleimani. The Iranians launched ballistic missiles at that same airbase, and dozens of U.S. personnel did suffer traumatic brain injuries. Again, Iran has not directly claimed this, but this is part of a growing cycle of attacks that we've seen in the Middle East that have really raised concerns about a wider regional war breaking out over what's going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip. And you know, at this point, we're just waiting to see what happens next, Paul.
And John, the Israeli foreign minister is in Brussels and he's due to make an address to the EU or EU officials. What might he say?
Yeah, this is a visit by Foreign Minister Katz to Brussels to speak to the European Union, and it's going to be a tough crowd for him to talk to. Largely speaking, the EU's position has been that they want to see a two-state solution with the West Bank, Gaza Strip, as well as East Jerusalem, where I am right now, as part of a future Palestinian state. But we've heard from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other hardliners within his government who say that's not going to happen. They say they want control of everything west of the River Jordan. That means all of this Palestinian territory. That's something that the American allies of Israel don't want. That's something that the EU doesn't want, and that's something that Arab nations don't want either. So it's unclear exactly what Katz can come and offer at the table. You know, we've heard from Joseph Borrell, who's the EU policy chief, and he's really said that the two-state solution has to be what solves this problem. We've also heard from individual European leaders calling for ceasefires or a pause in fighting in the Gaza Strip, which today we've seen the death toll there tick over to over 25,000 Palestinians killed since this war started back on October 7th. So it's really a tough audience. It's a tough crowd for him, and it's really going to be interesting to see what, if anything, he can say to assuage the concerns of a Europe that has seen mass protests calling for a ceasefire in this war.